Hello everyone, my name is Rahul and today's my presentation topic is hydrofeminism towards the feminist ecology of water and bodies. This is my table of contents. So let us begin with understanding what is hydrofeminism. So it is basically a post-human feminist framework, and it is developed by Estrada Nemanis, and it reimagines embodiment through our bodies. It is basically a process of reimagining embodiment through our bodies, wet, watery constitution. So what this basically means is hydrofeminism gives us this idea that human beings are not we can say disconnected from nature, and this can especially be seen in our water constitution because we are made almost 60% 70% of water, and we are also constantly leaking because whenever we feel sad or happy we are crying, and whenever we work out a lot we are sweating, so we have a leaky constitution. And so hydrofeminism gives this challenge of understanding ourselves and the world around us through water, and it is a challenge. It is a theory that challenges anthropocentrism and phalagocentrism. What this basically means is it challenges the idea that human beings are at the center of this world, at least that all the nature and everything, all the resources are for our use only, and we can do with them as we like. And this is a dangerous idea, and it is challenged by hydrofeminism. And phalgocentrism is another idea that says that male perspective is basically we can say at the center of human experience, and hydrofeminism also argues against this. So hydrofeminism gives this idea of challenging the dry myth. So what this means is that, as I said earlier, that bodies are not separated from nature, and we cannot say that we are distinct and stable and fundamentally autonomous individual subjects, because we human bodies is two-third water, and it requires constant exchange also. We constantly need to drink water, and we also when we are born, when we are in the womb of our mothers, we are submerged in water. So as I said earlier, the leaky bodies of water, and so there is this vulnerable to rupture and renegotiation, basically a boundary that can rupture anytime. And so that is why we have to renegotiate what it means to be human, and how do we interact with nature around us, especially when that nature is water bodies. Hydrofeminism tries to connect itself with more than human hydrocarbons. So this basically means materially and conceptually interconnected with more than human hydrocarbons. So what does this mean is human bodies are deeply connected to rivers, rainwater, and oceans, and all of that. So there is this a cycle of everything. As here you can see from this quote that human bodies ingest reservoir bodies. Reservoir bodies are dependent on rain. Rain bodies absorb ocean bodies. So it's like a cycle that is sustaining us. So it is more than human, because we cannot say that human are at the center of it. We are as much dependent on other things as they are on us. And so this is basically dissolving the human and non-human divide. There is also this idea given in hydrofeminism where they say water is a living archive. So water or ocean basically acts as a library of drowned stories. What this means is we have many ships and ancient artifacts that we can retrieve from the ocean, and that gives us an insight into our history. And latest scientific analysis also tells us that we share a lot of we can say genealogies with deep sea creatures as well, because we see that even whales are mammals. So learning about these animals and how these things how these living beings function, we can also understand a lot about ourselves. And there is this idea that the water as a living archive has the capacity to bury as well as remember. So if we try to suppress the things, then we can do that with water. And if we try to remember our past, then that also can be done with water. And it is also a toxic archive of late capitalism, because most of the drowned ships were from that time when people wanted to expand their own empires, and so they were in search of new lands. So this also gives us an insight into that. Now, hydrofeminism traces its theoretical lineage from these different theories. So basically, feminism, blue humanities, post-humanism, and transport reality. So hydrofeminism and feminism. So hydrofeminism is building on this idea of feminism, and it takes the feminist phenomenology further, and it argues from the women's perspective. And there is also this idea of maternal and reproductive theory, that, as I mentioned, that when we are in our mother's womb, we are submerged in water. So that also connects us to our bodies of water, other bodies of water better. And that is why it takes it a step further from feminism also, and says that it is not about individual bodies, but we are connected as a whole. And there is also a politics of citation. What this means is, Neminas argues that uh, feminism has always been a post-human theory. She says that feminism has always argued about male-centric perspective, but at the same time, while this argument is happening, we also see human as the center of everything, and in that, feminism has questioned that also. And but this is erased from the early post-humanist theorist, and that is why Nemina says that there is a politics of citation, and she wants to bring it back. She says that feminism has always been a post-humanist theory, even before post-humanist theory was a thing. Then there is hydrofeminism and blue humanities. So there is this idea that both of them share is solving the interpretive challenge of scale. So blue humanities explored oceanic literature and oceanic bodies also, but they had this idea on how to connect it to humans. And for that reason, hydrofeminism works as a very integral part of blue humanities, because it gives this idea that we are bodies of water ourselves, and so we are not that disconnected from our nature. And there is a connection through difference. Now, what this means is, both blue humanities and hydrofeminism believe that we cannot trust that romanticized idea that all of us are equal in this, like all of us are made of the same water. We cannot say that, because there is something called a geographical racism also. Like when we see that big companies, they know that a lot of waste is going to come out of their whatever they're producing. So they specifically put it in such a manner that it gets dumped out on places where there are minority people living, because they know that they don't have money or resources to go against this. So we see that there is a difference in how all of us have are interacting with water also. So people living near fresh water, they are in privileged in that sort compared to the minorities. And the blue humanities and hydrofeminism together wants to counter challenge the green with the blue. So basically, a lot of eco criticism is also popular right now. So the blue humanities and hydrofeminism are saying that as we look at green things, it is also equally important to look at the blue, which means the water. Now, hydrofeminism and post-humanism. So basically, it is how hydrofeminism is also building on post-humanism theory, and it says that it's dismantling the discrete humanist subject. So post-humanism also works in that we cannot say that human being is at the center of it, and we are dismantling that idea, and that is done also by hydrofeminism. And there is a post-human politics of location that I said about. Uh, Geographical racism, so that also functions in post-human idea. And it also, hydrofeminism also rejects disembodied transhumanism, which is also rejected by Donna Haraway. So what this means is, transhumanism basically means that changing our body in such a manner using science and technology that we can reduce our diseases, and the goal is that we can defeat death. But hydrofeminism also rejects this idea and says that we are deeply connected with our nature. So there is no need to do that and change our bodies. There is also hydrofeminism and transcorporeality, transcorporeality basically says that we are not bounded individuals, and we cannot say that we are self-sufficient and we are different from everybody, because there is a porous boundary to us. So as we said, that there is constantly exchange from both the sides, and that is happening, and the same idea is given by hydrofeminism also. Both of them have a similar concept in hydrocommons and toxic transits. As I already talked about hydrocommons, that water bodies and human bodies and what they have in common, and there is a cycle, and the same kind of idea is given by transcorporeality. And there is an in-depthness towards nature. So what this means is that because we need so much of nature to survive, we need to establish that we are in debt of it. Like we cannot say that we are the conquerors here, because we are dependent on it, and we have to have a little bit of humility in that matter. Now, let us discuss why hydrofeminism is necessary. So, it is extremely important in understanding and enduring the disrupted ecosystems, because right now we see a lot of pollution, water pollution, and a lot of effects of that in our world. So, understanding these ecosystems, in disrupted ecosystems, how that happened and what we can do, can actually help us better our environmental status. And there is an urgent question of worldly survival and ethical accountability, that because all of this is kind of happening because of us, because we even don't spare the waters, we pollute that also. So there is this ethical accountability on humanity's part, and this question is asked by hydrofeminism. There is the dismantling of the myth of self-contained sovereign individual, as they say that no man is an island. So we can say here that that is true. We need a lot of things to survive. And there is also resolving the interpretive scale of challenge, which we said that blue humanities and hydrofeminism both are working towards it, on how to connect human body better with nature, so that we can get the people to understand that when you are polluting nature, you are inadvertently polluting the human body as well. And sooner or later, we are going to face the consequences of that. So conclusion was let me conclude by saying that hydrofeminism is a theory that teaches us to think through water, and we see that it is an interconnected archive. It is a cycle of dependency, and it can work as an archive as well. There is a dialogue with different theories, as I talked about in theoretical lineage, and there is response to ecological crisis. In our time, we are struggling with this, and we see that every time we open news, there is news about some climate change effect happening somewhere in the world. So these theories can act as a response to that. And basically, hydrofeminism is water as a medium to rethink our relationship with the world. It gives the idea that when we change how we think about human bodies or water bodies, we also change how we think about human bodies. And I would like to end with this quote by Neminas, which says, "Blood, bile, intercellular fluid, a small ocean swallowed, a wild wetland in our gut, rivulets forsaken, making their way from our insides to out, from watery world to watery world. We are the bodies of water." These are my references, and thank you. Now for your questions. Okay, so there is a question from Drashti Joshi. Bhumiba, in your presentation, you mentioned that blue humanities and hydrofeminism work together. How then do these two approaches differ from each other? So, blue humanities basically is working on, we can say that understanding the oceanic ecosystems and how it's happening. And it is done by hydrofeminism as well, but it is done primarily from the feminist perspective. So, blue humanities, we can say, is a general understanding of this oceanic things, while hydrofeminism is basically focusing on the female experience and trying to connect it to that. Okay, so that, if that